Welcome back to the ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the shocking courtroom drama that has left fans utterly furious with Sonny Corinthos and Ada Justine Turner sealing the fate of their ill-fated romance in the most dramatic way possible. Picture this. The tension in Port Charles has reached a boiling point, with loyalties fracturing like glass under pressure. On November in a courtroom packed with high-stakes drama, Justine Turner delivered a betrayal that no one saw coming, shattering any lingering illusions of a spark between her and the formidable mob boss Sonny Corinthos. This wasn't just a procedural hiccup. It was a calculated move that targeted the heart of Sonny's world, his family, by pulling the rug out from under a plea deal for his young grandson, Rocco Falconer. Rocco, an innocent teen, caught in the web of deceit spun by the scheming Professor Henry Dalton, had only broken into the lab to uncover evidence of the professor's illicit experiments involving hidden corporate espionage and falsified research data that could have exposed a major scandal in Port Charles elite circles. The boy's arrest was a setup from the start, designed to frame him as a delinquent, when he was really playing detective to protect his family's name. As the judges gave Houston's decision to rag echoed through the chamber, leaving Sonny's trusted lawyer, Rick Lansing, scrambling to regroup while the air thickened with unspoken accusations. Fans watching at home couldn't contain their outrage, flooding comment sections with cries of injustice, pointing out how this single act not only derailed a potential lighter sentence for Rocco, but also ignited a firestorm that exposed the raw underbelly of power plays in the justice system. It's a classic soap opera twist, amplified by the personal stakes where professional duty clashes violently with budding personal connections, reminding viewers why General Hospital excels at blending legal thriller elements with emotional gut punches. Sonny's reaction was nothing short of heartbreaking. A masterclass in Maurice Bernard's portrayal of a man whose empire is built on ironclad family bonds, yet vulnerable to those he lets close. Standing there in his tailored suit, eyes locked on Justine, he uttered words that cut deeper than any courtroom objection. You and I both know he's framing my grandson. The tremor in his voice, the flicker of raw pain behind his steely gaze, it all captured the essence of betrayal, turning what could have been a steamy enemies to lovers arc into a cautionary tale of misplaced trust. Months of subtle flirtations from chance encounters at the floating rib to late night strategy sessions over strategy files had built a fragile bridge between the mobster and the prosecutor, one that promised fireworks but delivered only smoke. Viewers have dissected this moment endlessly on forums, analyzing how Bernard's delivery layered layers of history onto Sonny's character, decades of losses, from lost loves to family tragedies, making this fresh wound feel like a recurring nightmare. The scene's intensity forced a re-evaluation of Sonny's vulnerability. He's not just the untouchable kingpin, but a grandfather fighting for a kid's future. And Justine's choice to prioritize her badge over their connection highlighted the impossible divide between their worlds. In Port Charles, where secrets fester like open wounds, this betrayal isn't isolated. It's a thread pulling at the Larger tapestry of alliances, hinting at deeper conspiracies where Professor Dalton's framing might tie into broader threats against the Quinto's legacy, perhaps involving shadowy figures from Sonny's past mob dealings. For all the build-up, fans have been vocal about how this pairing never ignited, despite the writer's best efforts to fan the flames into a blaze. From the outset, Sonny and Yusin's dynamic felt like a mismatched puzzle, with her rigid adherence to the law clashing against his street-smart pragmatism in ways that sparked more friction than attraction. Social media exploded with memes and rants, users decrying the lack of that elusive chemistry, the kind that makes hearts race during stolen glances or heated arguments. One viral tweet captured the sentiment perfectly. Sonny and Justine, more like a root canal than romance. Efforts to humanize them fell flat. Take the infamous axe throwing outing at the local range, meant to showcase their shared adrenaline rush and hint at a dangerous allure. Instead, as they hurled axes while debating mundane topics like favorite Italian recipes or the best way to handle a rainy Port Charles afternoon, it came off as awkwardly staged with awkward pauses and forced laughter that screamed trying too hard. Fans speculated wildly in fan theories, suggesting the writers drew from real-life power couple tropes, but forgot the essential spark, perhaps underestimating how Sonny storied history with fiery women like Carly or Olivia set an impossibly high bar. Adding invented depth, imagine if behind-scenes tensions, like Justine's internal conflict over her own family's hidden ties to organized crime, had been explored earlier. Could have added nuance, turning her into a tragic figure rather than a villain. Yet, without that, the relationship reads as a plot device, one that's now spectacularly backfired, leaving audiences to question if the show is deliberately sabotaging new pairings to revive old favorites. Delving deeper into the relational fallout, Justine's audacity post-dinner dates has become legendary fodder for fan dections, underscoring the sacred code of hospitality. In soap lore, Sonny, ever the gracious host, had wined and dined her with plates of homemade lasagna, layered with ricotta and fresh basil from his own garden. Sessions filled with laughter over shared stories of Port Charles' wilder days. These weren't just meals. They were olive branches, gestures of vulnerability from a man who rarely lowers his guard, to then turn around and prosecute his grandson framed for a crime rooted in Dalton's elaborate scheme of stealing intellectual property from rival labs feels like the ultimate violation of that unspoken pact. Online communities buzzed with comparisons. One Reddit thread gaining thousands of upvotes for breaking down how such betrayals echo through general hospital's history. From backstabbings in boardrooms to personal vendettas. Inventing a new layer, suppose Justine had confided in a colleague about her growing doubts only to be pressured by higher-ups with their own agendas against Sonny. It would explain her cold pivot, adding moral ambiguity and making her arc more compelling. But as it stands, her actions paint her as opportunistic, eroding any goodwill built over those intimate evenings and reinforcing why fans view her as a temporary thorn rather than a lasting partner. In the cutthroat world of Port Charles, where meal seal deals and betrayals brew, Vendettas, this misstep ensures Just's place in the Hall of Infamous. Short-lived flames. Echoes of past. Storylines amplify the frustration, drawing stark parallels to Sonny's turbulent fling with FBI agent Marshall in a romance doomed by the same lethal cocktail of duty and desire. Reese arrived in town with a mission to dismantle Sonny's operations. Much like Justine's initial probe into local crime rings, only to succumb to his charm amid stakeouts and clandestine meetings. Their bond, forged in the heat of investigations into money laundering, schemes tied to waterfront dealings, ended in heartbreak when professional loyalties pulled her away, culminating in a tragic confrontation that left scars still felt today. Fans are quick to note the repetition. Both women represent the law's unyielding arm, drawn to the danger, yet ultimately repelled by it, perpetuating the show's mantra that mob life and justice are oil and water. This time though, the rejection feels swifter with viewers wary of recycling tropes without fresh twists, like perhaps exploring how Reese's ghost metaphorically haunts Justine through old case files. Resurfacing. Detailed analysis reveals a pattern in General Hospital's writing. These arcs serve to humanize Sonny, showing his capacity for love beyond the underworld, but they also trap him in a cycle of isolation, priming him for reunions that feel inevitable. Reese's betrayal involved a high-speed chase gone wrong, adding physical peril. Just is more cerebral, a legal ambush that wounds the soul. Yet, both underscore the futility, leaving audiences to ponder if the show will ever let Sonny break free from this narrative loop, or if it's a deliberate echo to heighten the drama of his core relationships. Looking ahead, the wreckage of these modern pairing screams set up for a classic super couple revival, with the writers orchestrating a perfect storm to reunite Sonny and Carly. Notice how both are suddenly adrift. Sonny's trust in Justine evaporates after her courtroom strike, mirroring Carly's fury at WASB Station Chief Jack Brennan for secretly enlisting their daughter Jocelyn in covert operations without her knowledge. Operations that delve into international intrigue, from encrypted messages to shadowy alliances that threaten their family's safety. This simultaneous unraveling isn't happenstance. It's a scripted symphony, isolating them from unreliable outsiders and thrusting them into each other's orbits amid escalating threats like renewed mob wars or corporate takeovers. Spoilers tease that Sonny can trust Carly with his life. A line dripping with history, contrasting sharply with the deceptions elsewhere. Just's hidden agenda and Brennan's manipulative recruitment. Fans theorize endlessly, envisioning tense strategy sessions in Carly's Metro Court office, where old flames reignite over coffee and contingency plans, perhaps inventing a new element like a shared artifact from their past, such as a locket holding a photo of their early days, symbolizing unbreakable bonds. The GPS of storytelling is indeed recalculating, paving a highway back to their explosive chemistry, where mutual understanding of Port Charles dangers fosters not just alliance but passion as external pressures mount. Dalton's framing tying into larger conspiracies. Jocelyn's spy involvement risking exposure. Sonny and Carl's reunion feels not just probable, but essential. A beacon of stability in the chaos, promising the heartfelt drama That keeps General Hospital's legacy alive. Next, we will learn about the escalating tensions in Port Charles as Gen Sidwell plots his next ruthless move against his disloyal ally, Professor Henry Hank Dalton, potentially dragging innocent Laura Collins into a web of deception and danger. In the shadowy underbelly of Port Charles, whispers of betrayal are growing louder with spoilers teasing that Gen Sidwell, the cunning mastermind pulling strings from the shadows, has finally reached his breaking point with his troublesome subordinate, Professor Henry Hank Dalton, once seen as a reliable pawn in Sidwell's grand schemes. Dalton's recent overt rebellion has exposed a deep-seated disloyalty that no one in Sidwell's inner circle can afford to ignore. This isn't just a minor hiccup. It's a full-blown mutiny that threatens the fragile empire Sidwell has so meticulously built. Drawing from the past Port Charles intrigues such as the corporate takeovers and hidden alliances, Sidwell's intolerance for weakness suggests he's gearing up for a decisive strike. His history of eliminating loose ends, think of the quiet disappearances of rivals in earlier story arcs, indicates that Dalton's days are numbered and the fallout could ripple through the entire town. As we delve deeper, it's clear this conflict isn't isolated. It's poised to ignite a chain reaction, affecting key figures like Laura Collins, whose mayoral ambitions are already under siege. The stakes couldn't be higher, blending personal vendettas with political maneuvering in a way that keeps viewers on the edge of their seats, questioning who will survive the impending storm. What unfolds for Dalton in the coming days promises to be a whirlwind of consequences, as the events of the week of November to St. cascade forward with unrelenting force. Much like a dam bursting under pressure, November sweeps have always been a breeding ground for high-stakes drama on General Hospital, where the writers amplify the chaos to deliver unforgettable twists. And this period is no exception. After weeks of simmering build up toward an explosive climax, murder mysteries have long been a staple. During these sweeps, evoking classic Who Done It's echo iconic episodes like the Casadini family feuds or the long-forgotten Spencer's dark secrets. And all signs point to Dalton stepping into the spotlight as the prime suspect, victim in a tangled plot. Introduced as a peripheral character with no meaningful connections to the established ensemble, Dalton has lingered on the fringes. His sparse appearances marked by a grating personality that's equal parts abrasive and unlikable. His nastiness toward colleagues, his cheap shortcuts in research, and his outright rudeness to authority figures have painted him as the perfect red herring. Someone whose demise would spark suspicion without derailing beloved storylines. Imagine the town's reaction if his body turns up in an unexpected place like the dimly lit docks or the abandoned wing of General Hospital, locations ripe for dramatic reveals. This setup allows the show to explore themes of accountability and hidden motives, forcing characters to confront their own complicity in the web of lies. As the plot thickens, viewers can anticipate forensic details emerging from tampered evidence to cryptic clues left behind, all while the core ensemble grapples with the moral implications of a life or death lost in the shuffle. Dalton's descent into the Heart of this whodunit begins with his most audacious betrayal yet. Framing. Young Rocco Falconer for the sabotage of his PCU laboratory. A move that's as calculated as it is cruel. Rocco, the spirited grandson of familiar faces, along with a group of curious friends, had merely ventured into the lab out of youthful mischief, touching nothing and causing no real harm during their brief exploration. Yet, in a display of petty vengeance, Dalton fabricates a trail of incriminating evidence, perhaps doctored security footage or planted digital footprints designed to land the innocent teen behind bars and derail his promising future. This act isn't just vindictive. It's a desperate grasp for control amid his crumbling loyalty to Sidwell, highlighting how far he's willing to go to cover his own tracks in unrelated schemes. Reflecting on similar youth and peril arcs like the time when other young Port Charles residents faced false accusations in drug-related plots. This framing device amps up the emotional stakes, pulling in protective family members who won't stand idly by. On the Friday, November episode, Laura's sharp instincts kick in as she pieces together the injustice against her grandson. Her face a mask of fury and determination. Previews for Monday, November escalate the drama, showing her unleashing a public tirade against Alton right in the heart of the town square. Her words cutting like a knife as onlookers gasp at the confrontation. But Laura's challenges don't stop there. She's simultaneously fending off a fierce rival in city Councilman Ezra Bull, whose slick campaign tactics and underhanded alliances are positioning him as a formidable threat in the race for mayor of Port Charles. Boyle's polished demeanor hides a ruthless edge, much like past political foes who scheme their way to power, and his growing influence could tip the scales in ways that expose deeper corruptions within the city's leadership. This multi-layered conflict weaves personal outrage with broader civic turmoil, setting the stage for alliances to form and shatter in unexpected ways. As Laura fights not just for justice, but for the soul of her hometown, Sidwell's counter strike during the week of November emerges as a brilliantly devious plan to neutralize two thorns in his side simultaneously: the meddlesome Laura and the increasingly unreliable Dalton, blending Hitandran peril with electoral sabotage in a symphony of chaos. Previews for the November to St. stretch paint a harrowing picture of Laura, her face contorted in terror as she screams into the enveloping darkness, car keys clutched tightly in her trembling hand, suggesting she's just collided with an unseen figure on a fog-shrouded road. We foresee Sidwell orchestrating this accident with precision, perhaps using a proxy driver or tampering with vehicles to stage the scene, ensuring Dalton's body is discovered in a way that implicates Laura beyond doubt. Scratches on her bumper, fibers from his coat, even a witness planted to swear they saw her fleeing the scene. This isn't mere revenge. It's a strategic masterstroke that leverages the mayoral race to Sidwell's advantage, discrediting Laura at her most vulnerable moment and paving the way for his preferred candidate to seize control. Delving into the psychological toll. Imagine Laura's internal struggle as doubt creeps in. Did she unknowingly strike someone in the panic of the night? Mirroring the Moral dilemmas faced by characters like Sonny Corinthos and his own vehicular mishaps, the Hitandron element adds visceral tension, evoking rainy nights and screeching tires that have defined General Hospital's suspenseful sequences for decades. Spoiler alert. Ezra Bull clinches the election in a landslide, tainted by whispers of fraud, sending shockwaves through Port Charles as his victory unleashes a torrent of unchecked power plays from rigged contracts to silenced denters that could fracture the community irreparably. Can the resilient citizens of this iconic town rally to expose the shenanigans, rebuild trust in their institutions, and avert total collapse? As the dust settles on this disastrous week, one thing is certain. The battle for Port Charles' future has only just begun, leaving fans breathless for what's next in this riveting saga of loyalty, lies, and lethal consequences.